Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, where ambition meets authenticity and women rewrite the rules of success. Today's conversation is all about empowered entrepreneurship, how women connect, contribute, and truly celebrate their worth. But why do so many of us undercharge while over-delivering? And how do we know when we're juggling too many ideas instead of building one powerful one? And what's the real cost of doing it all alone? My guest today shines a bold light on redefining value, finding focus, and turning isolation into inspiration. This is one conversation every woman in business needs to hear. Today's topic is empowered entrepreneurs connect, contribute, and celebrate. I'm joined by Mary Gaul, owner of Success Magnified LLC. Mary, welcome to Empowered. So happy to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I am really excited about our conversation today. I love that you empower women to talk about their finances and be more comfortable with their finances. And being a business owner is a big part of that.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. How do you know if you're
Mhm.
running a business or you're just doing a lot of busy work?
Yes. The first thing I always ask my clients when they start with me is, are you paying yourself? Right? That's the first thing. Are you making enough money to pay yourself? Then you're are running a business, right? Even if it's a small amount at first, we have to set the precedent that we are going to start paying ourselves as business owners, right? As running a business. And then determining what do they need their business to provide. Are they running their business to pay for their kids college? Are they running their business to set up their retirement? Are they already in kind of their third act and they just need a way to contribute, but they still want to be paid for the value that they bring? So we really look at what is the purpose of the business and how much do you want that business to bring in. So it's a good idea to have those numbers set.
Okay, so what beliefs quietly keep women undercharging? Because this happens often rather than, they're undercharging or over delivering.
Yes, yes. We are givers naturally, right? So we want to give and we want people to like us. And so sometimes we get that conflated and we think, oh, if I charge too much, they won't like me or they won't be able to afford it. We put all of these stories onto our clients
Mhm.
where we have no idea what their financial situation is, right? So we need to go back to the value that we're giving. And a lot of time, women entrepreneurs, especially in service based businesses, they might think, well, I'm giving this much per hour, or I have this many sessions and it costs this much per hour. We really need to go back and work on what's the long-term value that a client gets from working with us, right? So for example, if you're working with somebody on their finances, you might work with them for a couple of hours to put a plan together, but then the value of that plan is exponential throughout their lifetime, right? And that's the value that we're giving to that person, not just our 2 hours of our time. So, really looking at what is the value that somebody gets from working with us? What's the long term value, not just the time we're spending with them initially? And it's hard for us to kind of quantify that sometimes, especially in a service based business or where we're working with people that it may be a little bit harder to quantify that value. But that's where we need to start is really saying it's not just me per hour, this rate per hour. And if I want to raise my rates, I don't always have to provide more services, right?
Mhm.
I'm talking about the value that I'm giving the client. And if give somebody a strategy that then they can turn into their business and make another $100,000 a year, that hour was exponentially more than what I'm charging them, right? So the value of that is there. So looking at switching that around, not just the time value, but what's the long term value? And then what do you bring to the table?
So we've got less than a minute to commercial break, but I want to start on this question. How can action create clarity when you feel stuck or just overwhelmed?
Yes, yes. So the simplest action is what I call doing a brain dump, right? And that you can do in 20 minutes with a piece of paper and a pen. Get all those ideas out of your head and then start to go back and prioritize those things, right? So I tell people get them all out of your head onto a piece of paper or a whiteboard, then go back and put a dollar sign near the things that are going to either cost you money if you don't do them or add money to your bottom line if you do focus on those things, right? So that can help us prioritize those things that are more busy work versus things that are income generating or things that might cost us money if we don't address them.
All right, we'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's topic is empowered entrepreneurs connect, contribute, and celebrate. Mary, we were talking about brain dump before we went to commercial break, and it made me think I was having trouble sleeping. And I woke up at 3:30 in the morning because my brain was just reeling. And I went into the bathroom and talked into my phone and wrote an article that I needed to write for a magazine. Is that what you're talking about when when you mention brain dump?
Yes, yes. So when you sit down at your computer or it's 3 in the morning and your brain is spinning about, oh, I need to send that contract. I need to, finish this proposal. I need to reply to this email. I need to write this article. There's no shortage of things that we always have spinning in our heads for
Mhm.
our businesses and for our personal lives, right? We have birthdays we need to acknowledge and trips we need to plan and all kinds of things, right? So I think just I love setting a timer and saying, for 20 minutes, I'm going to just get everything out of my head that I'm thinking of. And I usually categorize it into business things and personal things. And then, like I said, if you can go back and because that can be overwhelming when you see that whole long list and you're like, how am I ever going to get this all done? Right. But if you start to prioritize that list by what's going to cost you money, what's going to make you money in your business, right, and your personal life, and then go back through and say, what are marketing related things, right? Or is this something I can delegate? Is this something I can hand off? What do I need to have in place? Then you can kind of work through and cluster those things
Mhm.
and then build time in your calendar to actually implement those. So if you have a list of 10 things that are related to marketing, build a marketing block in your calendar and mark those 10 things and get those all done. So it's all kind of the same energy, the same thought process when you're working on those things together. And then you can actually get those done and move on to the next set of 100 things that runs through your brain the
And
next
you'll
day,
be able
right?
to sleep better.
You'll be able to sleep better. Yes.
So,
Yes.
so what does it actually look like to lead yourself like a CEO instead of an employee in your own business?
Yes, it really is honoring your calendar, I think is important, right? So we put things on our calendar that are things that we mean to do to work on our business. And then a client calls or then something else comes up or a networking meeting we need to go to or a social media post we need to put out there. And we never really go back and honor that time for us to spend thinking about our business, having that CEO time, and that means really taking a broad look at what do you want your business to look like in the next 3 to 5 years? What are your numbers in your business? Knowing those numbers is so key. What are your marketing numbers? What are your revenue numbers? What are your profit and loss numbers, right? How is your business growing? And is it on plan? Is it on trajectory for where you want to grow it? And so taking that valued CEO time on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis for sure, that's the first step, is honoring that time as a CEO.
So I've heard you say set the date many, many times. Why is set the
Yes.
date one of the most powerful strategy tools entrepreneurs actually ignore?
Yes. Because if you're working in a business by yourself or with a team, right? If you don't have a deadline, Peter Drucker, I think, said, what gets measured gets managed, right? So if you have a deadline, you have a measurement to start achieving things by that deadline. And it really does give us that first level of accountability. I'm going to achieve this by this date, right? And having that date in your calendar, and the more public you can make that date, telling your team about it, setting those goals for yourself. If you need an accountability partner or setting it out on social media, right? The more you can have that date, it gives us that first level of accountability. Then you can start working backwards to meet other deadlines so that you can have those things on that date, right? When I wrote my first book, I planned the party first. I set the date for the party, and then I worked backwards to meet all the other deadlines of when I had to get it to the publisher and the printer and the editor and all of that kind of thing. So setting the date gave me that end goal that I knew I had to meet.
See, I love the fact that you just said you wrote a book, but you planned your party first and then worked your way
Yes.
backwards. Because a lot of people wouldn't
Mhm.
do that. That's counterintuitive. They typically you set the
Right.
date of starting to write and then you move on. But I think this
Yeah.
mindset is very, very helpful for everyone where you're forward looking, you actually work
Mhm.
backwards, and then you know exactly where you're supposed to be at what time and how much you have to do before that time. I like the whole set the
Yes.
date thing, and I think it'll be very powerful for a lot of people that are watching the show and help them with their shows, with their businesses. Please don't go away.
Good.
We'll be right back with more of Mary Gull. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's topic is empowered entrepreneurs connect, contribute, and celebrate. So, Mary, I want to talk about the early signs. What are the early signs that an entrepreneur is chasing too many ideas instead of building one strong offer?
Yes. Well, it can be waking up at 3 in the morning, right? With too many ideas. Like, oh, I got to write the book. I got to do the podcast. I got to do all of the things, right? So it can be a sign of lack of sleeping, can be one of the signs. But usually we have no shortage of ideas and
Mhm.
we're bombarded with information and opportunities of how we can grow our business, right? So then it becomes getting clear about what you want your business to look like. We talked about that in the first segment. What do you want your business to provide you? And what do you want your business to look like? And when you're clear about that, that helps to eliminate some of the noise about the things that you should be doing or need to be doing, because everybody else is doing it. So getting really clear about why you're in business, who you serve, and what you want your business to look like. That will help eliminate some of those extra ideas. And then again, going back to what serves your clients, what serves your business, what serves that why, and that can help eliminate again some of that extra noise that we our brains are constantly thinking of ideas.
Okay, so how do you decide what deserves your energy this quarter and what doesn't? Because there's so much information out there, a lot of noise, as you
Mhm.
were just saying. So how do you know?
Yeah, it really goes back to do you have annual goals and like a 3 to 5 year plan, right? So is what you're trying to do in alignment with what you're trying to build? And so if you're trying to build a service-based business and then you say, "Oh, well, I'm going to write a book." Right? That book may take you a year to get done. So, is there something else that you could be doing in the meantime that makes more of an impact to your bottom line or to your employees or your staff or to your clients while you're working on that book? So, sometimes you can look at a timeline of a project. Sometimes you can look at, do we need to have cash influx right now? So, we've got to make some sales. We've got to tweak our product line. We've got to, whatever that looks like. So, looking at what is the problem you're trying to solve and is that in alignment with where you want to go with your business.
So what systems should every solopreneur build before scaling?
Yes, a great network. I think you've got to have a network. You've got to have a network of people that are potential power partners, people that are potential clients, obviously. And then you've got to have what I call peer advisory boards, right? So you have to have this trusted advisory group where you can, and I work with small business owners, right? So if you're in the corporate world, you've got board of directors and those kind of people that can give you some strategy and advice. But if you're a small business owner out there building your business by yourself, you really do need that community where you can go and ask questions, you can learn from each other, you can contribute to each other. And so I think that's an important piece. And then obviously you've got to have a way to handle money, right? So get money through your business. And then what do you do with the money on the back end of your business, right? Telling your money what to do and how it works for you in your business. And then a way to keep in front of your clients and manage your staff and all of those kind of things. So depending on the size of your business, there are different systems that you need, but we need to build our networks first, our power partners, and then obviously money is important for any business, so you have to be able to receive money, process the money, put the money to work for you, and pay your people and pay yourself.
So speaking of money, how do you move from inconsistent income to predictable momentum.
Yes. This is where building that powerful network can really help you. So if you have a really powerful network of power partners that are going to send clients your way, make referrals, make introductions, and then building your current client database, right? So we want to make sure we have those really tightened up. So we're nurturing the people that come through us. We're building great, strong, powerful relationships with referral partners so that they're consistently sending people our way, right? There's so many ways to market your business now. And, with AI, there's even more ways to market our business and be found online. And so we really want to make sure we're still keeping those human connections because a strong word of mouth referral beats any social media post any day of the week, right?
So it's really interesting because you brought up two things that are constants on this show. Number one is your network. Number two is your
Hmm.
community. And those two keep popping up on, if it isn't every episode, it's every other episode. So don't go
Yeah.
away. We'll be right back and discuss where women most commonly overcomplicate their marketing. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's topic is Empowered Entrepreneurs Connect, Contribute, and Celebrate. And I'm joined by Mary Gaul. She's the owner of Success Magnified LLC. Okay, Mary, let's keep going. Last segment. Where do women most
Yeah.
commonly overcomplicate their marketing?
I think it's trying to be everywhere all at once and talking to everybody, right? So if you say, oh, I just work with women, right? That's half of the population on the planet. That doesn't help me narrow down how to introduce you or who you work with or anything like that, right? So we really have to get specific in who we work with and how we serve them. And then where are those people going to find you? So there's no shortage of places we can post online, right? But if your clients are more professional, they might be more on LinkedIn, right? If your clients are more, they're looking for the latest trends and things like that, they might be on Instagram. So you don't necessarily need to be on all the platforms all the time. Pick the ones where your clients are going to be and then really build a strong audience there. So I think we overcomplicate things by trying to be everywhere all at once, all the time.
I agree. And I agree with your analogies too. LinkedIn and Instagram, it's perfect. And,
Mhm.
everyone thinks they have to be on TikTok and Facebook and everywhere else,
Right.
but you really have to hone in on who you are and what you're doing. So I want to talk
Yeah.
about done. You talk about
Mhm.
done is better than perfect. And there's so many women who struggle with perfection, which doesn't even exist because it's a moving scale. So, what does done is
Right.
better than perfect actually look like in real business decisions?
Yes. And when I say this, some people say, well, I don't want to just put up anything, right? I want it to have a level of professionalism. And yes, so we do want to have what is the minimum viable presentation you want to make, right? So if you're looking at social media posts or writing an article or something, what does that look like? Or when you're showing up at a networking event, done is better than perfect means I'm going to show up at this consistent level at a minimum, and when it's at that minimum, it's good enough. And that means I can post it. I can show up. I can have that conversation. I don't have to have things being perfect. We don't want to let people start saying done is better than perfect and just throw anything up there
Mhm.
online, right? So we want it to have a certain standard. You have to make sure there's no typos and the links all work. And we want that level of professionalism, but you can tweak something forever and ever, right? With my book, for example, you can tweak a book forever and never finish it. So setting the date and then done is better than perfect, meaning, yes, there's still things I would go back and edit, but I had to get it done at some point. You have
Yeah.
to get it completed and get it out to the world. So that's what I mean by done is better than perfect. We
I
can
love
we
it.
can stop ourselves from doing so many things by holding us back.
I love it. I love it. Let's go to isolation in entrepreneurs. Why is isolation one of the biggest hidden costs of entrepreneurship?
Yes, with especially now with AI, we can talk to AI a lot and get some great feedback, but you really do need other humans to run a business, right? Even if you're a solopreneur like I am, I have other people that I'm talking to about my business, of learning about new business concepts, and just sharing the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. We need that human connection. And so yes, AI can give us some great strategies, some great tools, but we really do need human connection. And so I encourage you to find a community where you can go and talk about your business with other business people, right? It doesn't do any good to talk about it with somebody who has a W-2 job and doesn't understand the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. So we really do need to find those communities for ourselves.
All right, 40 seconds left. What happens when women
Mhm.
intentionally connect, contribute, and celebrate instead of competing?
Yes, we all rise together. It's amazing to see. We all are learning so much every day. And when we have a chance to contribute to each other and help each other rise, I think it's innate in all of us and we want that for each other. And that's my view on life, right? So I think and we can't forget the celebration piece. As entrepreneurs, we're always on to the next thing. And we really need to stop and celebrate all of those wins along the way. And if we have a community to celebrate with, even better.
I love it. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Mary wants you to know success isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in small, brave decisions made consistently. Set the date, use a timer, take the next step because action creates clarity and done is always better than perfect. When women surround themselves with the right people, momentum stops being a struggle and starts becoming a rhythm.